Hello, today I'm going to tell you the three main reasons you're not gaining muscle. So, on the internet, people will like to list loads of reasons why people aren't gaining muscle, but for me, it always comes down to these three things. And today I'm going to tell you those three things. So, the first thing is that you're not getting stronger and you're not training hard enough. Now, people on the internet will debate like what's the optimal number of reps? Like, should you ever go above 8 reps, or should you ever never go above 15? This sort of thing. For me, in my personal experience, anywhere between 6 and 20 reps is fine, and anywhere between 2 and 4 sets is also fine. So it's up to you as an individual. But the most important thing is whether you progressive overload or not, and you have to ensure progressive overload by training hard. It doesn't matter how many sets and reps you like to do. If you don't train hard and enforce progressive overload, then you will not gain muscle. You have to give your body a reason to grow. It doesn't matter how you feel when you walk into the gym. You have to get there and ensure progressive overload. Sometimes you have to get nasty. You have to take yourself to a dark place and just fight for that rep. There's no two ways about it. It's about beating the numbers you've already got. And if you have to take yourself to dark places to get them, then you just have to do it. That's what has to be done. You have to take yourself to the top of sympathetic arousal, as it's called in the in nervous system terms, which is something I'm going to speak about a little bit more throughout this video. So the second thing is recovery and the ability to switch off from life and kick back and just enjoy yourself without any stimulus whatsoever. When people always mention recovery, they always talk about sleep, diet, cardio, phone use. They're the obvious ones. And I think they all have a case. You should be limited or optimized. You don't want to be on your phone too much. You don't want to be drinking too much caffeine, and you want to be getting good sleep. But what no one ever speaks about is the ability to just switch off and forget about life. And I think this is really important because it directly relates to the ability to switch on and train hard. You need to be able to switch off and do nothing to switch on and train hard. You don't want to stay in that grey zone. You want it to be black and white. You're either on or you're off. I think you need to be able to take yourself to the very top and to the very bottom of relaxation. Very top of sympathetic arousal when training, and to the very bottom of sympathetic arousal or parasympathetic arousal when recovering. And yes, sleep, diet, and phone use all help with that. You need to keep phone use to a minimum, keep sugar to a minimal, and keep sleep to a maximal. The third thing for me is training technique, and that is the ability to train the muscle you want to train. Again, this directly relates to recovery and reducing unnecessary fatigue. For example, let's say you want to train your chest, using the bench press exercise to train your chest. If you train your chest or train the bench press with bad form, you're going to end up with shoulder injuries and unnecessary tricep fatigue. So with one poorly executed exercise, you've ended up not training your chest the best, and you're going to limit the weight you can use on shoulders and triceps. So you've taken out 3 muscle groups with one exercise, which is why it is very important to actually execute your exercises with good form. Again, this directly relates to the nervous system because it's about contracting the muscles you wish to train. You need to keep in mind the muscle you want to train and only contract that muscle group if possible. Any other activation of other muscle groups will just cause unnecessary nervous system fatigue. Now, I'm not a complete fatigue junkie, which just wants to keep fatigue to an absolute minimum, but I do think as you become more advanced, it becomes more important to reduce unnecessary fatigue because the weight you use is heavier, and the weight itself is an independent contributor to fatigue. So what I mean by that is lifting heavy weights causes more fatigue. So as you become stronger, you need to find a way to get more out of less weight. You can't just keep adding more and more weight to the bar at the sacrifice of form and hoping to progress, because you're just going to cause more fatigue and you're going to find it harder to recover to go into your next sessions. So you need to keep exercise technique at a good standard. And I think if you can get into these habits early, your technique will only progress as the years go on. So that's why I'm making this video. I do think those three are the most important factors. I think everything else you learn in the gym comes under those three things for me. You can learn the optimal exercises and exercise selection, but if you execute them poorly, then you aren't training the muscle group that you want to train anyway. You can learn the best split and the best rep range and the best sets. But if you don't train hard and you don't force progressive overload, then you aren't going to progress. You can have the best training and eat the best foods, but if your recovery overall is very poor and you're stressed out all the time, then it's going to impact your training and you're not going to be able to progressive overload. So it doesn't matter what you learn, what you do. For me, it always comes back to those three things. So I hope the video helps, and I hope you keep those three things in mind at all times. And I'll see you in the next video.